Narada Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, and Jai Gaura Pramanande, Hari Hari Bol. I don't know how to speak Hindi, sorry.
क्या बोला?
अच्युतम केशवम में गा सकती हूँ?
वो कौन सा भजन है? वो कृष्ण का.
कृष्ण का.
हाँ तो गाओ. She wants to sing. She भजन कृष्ण.
But I think we have a class.
वो क्लास ने वो प्रवचन.
प्रवचन हो.
हाँ.
Maybe after late.
5 मिनट में. Sorry माता. He's great at, I think, DVDs.
Really?
Oh, glory to Jesus.
Really. Such a creativity also, such talent. I don't know. Yeah, I think, you have to think about something to change the world technical system. Yeah, for Krishna consciousness.
I was thinking like ladies ashram, pussy house.
But we can spread it.
I can't play actually. I'm not.
Shall I play for you?
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Because when you start singing, everybody will start like singing.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you. Oh, thanks. Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay. Jaya Rad Amadava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Sorry. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radhe Gokulananda Radhe Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Thank you. So welcome to today's Bhagavad Gita class. We'll be reading from the 18th chapter, text 55. So we're just going to do a quick invocation as well. Om Ganartimyandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakchurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before we begin speaking, I'd like to seek your blessings that we're able to speak something worthwhile, and also the blessings of those who may be listening online. And we'll also invoke the blessings of the Supreme Lord as well. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text number 55. So we're going to first recite the Sanskrit, and then we're going to read the translation and the purport. So if you have the translation with you, you can follow along. Yeah. Bhaktyamam abhigyanati sorry. Bhakti mam abhigyanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva visate tadanantaram bhakti mam abhigyanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva visate tadanantaram bhakti mam abhigyanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva visate tadanantaram. So I'm not sure if anyone would like to try the recitation themselves, or yeah, that's okay. So we'll continue on to the translation and the purport. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. One can understand me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. And purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take the pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7:25, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, he is not revealed to everyone. So no one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or by mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there. As long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness, one should not mistakenly think that the word visate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No, visate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist always keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean if we go deep. Surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of the Brahma Bhuta stage, or freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta stage develops, and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappear. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes free from material contamination. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is a statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti, or transcendental service, continues. The Vedanta Sutra 4.1.12 confirms this. E prayanat tat trapi hidrishnam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity into his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actually, liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. So, thank you. That's the end of the purport. So this verse speaks about the process of bhakti, how we can actually come to know the Supreme. So it's very important. It confirms in this verse that Krishna says that one can only know me through devotional service. So it's not by any other process. Only when we actually engage in devotional service will the Lord impart His mercy on us, so that we can actually become more knowledgeable. So this is what's stated in the purport as our constitutional position. So this means it's our natural position, or our eternal position. And in the purport also, Srila Prabhupada makes a point about, he speaks about the tree and the parrots and so on. So this is important to understand, that people have this conception that we become one with Brahman, and basically that we become Brahman. But there's three different aspects of actually God realization. So the first aspect is Brahman, or the impersonal Brahman, and then there's the Paramatma, and then there's the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, which is Bhagavan. So when people have this concept that they'll actually become one with Brahman, this is the impersonal Brahman, and Bhagavan is actually Param Brahman, so which is the Supreme Brahman. So we never actually become the Supreme Brahman. So the example is given of like a tree, that a parrot will go into a tree, or a green bird, but it doesn't become the tree. And this is our situation. So we'll never actually become one with the Lord. We're one in quality, but we're not one in quantity. So something which is very important to understand is that, simply by making that, that statement that we want to actually serve the Lord. So what actually happens then after that? and what does that entail? So Srila Prabhupada mentions in his purports that one can make one's life completely perfect and reach the highest fulfillment by three things. So these are, first of all, sincerity, seriousness, and no ulterior motive. So these are the three things. And we can see that they follow one after another. So if we are actually sincere, naturally we'll be serious. And then the more serious we become, naturally we'll have no ulterior motive. So to actually have no ulterior motive is the it's the pinnacle of devotional service. It's said that there's there's 4 ways that people actually come to Krishna, and they are, first of all, in the material world, that people are suffering from distress. They're desirous of wealth. They're inquisitive, and then finally, they just want to know what actually is the truth, the absolute truth. So there's truth seekers. So there's all these different ways by which people actually come to the path of devotional service. But to actually understand how do we actually maintain devotional service, and how do we keep enthusiastic in devotional service. So these are things which are very important. And naturally, to understand that, we have to understand what is the nature of the world. So that's something which is very important. So it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, after the disappearance of the Pandavas, Yudhisthira Maharaj's son, Maharaj Parikshit, he was actually given charge of the kingdom. And naturally, as the king of the world, he had to actually go and subjugate all the other kings. So he went around with his army on a black horse with the emblem of a lion. If I remember correctly, yes, a lion. And he went around, and he was naturally victorious. And then he chanced upon a bull and a cow. So this bull was Dharma personified, and the cow was Bhakti personified. So the cow was in a piteous condition, and she was crying and mourning, lamenting, and the bull, he only had one leg. The other 3 had been severed. So Maharaj Parikshit, he was actually, he's wondering what is this situation. And then he saw what he call a Sudra in the form of a king, and he could naturally conclude that this was the troublemaker. So this Sudra was actually Kali personified, and Kali is the age of Kali. So it's Kali's influence, which is the dark influence of this age. And Dharma is a very special personality. So when they asked Dharma, who did this or what happened, Dharma, you'll see that there's some people who are very philosophical. If you ask them a question, they'll think about it for a long time, and you won't get a straight answer. So this was like Dharma, and he asked Dharma, so who did this? And then Dharma was taken aback, such a deep question. So who really did this? And Dharma started to think, he was trying to think, what was the actual cause of this? And he was naturally thinking that for the way the world works, that this was naturally, it must have been the cause, his own misdoing, or it must have been the Supreme Lord who sanctioned it. But he obviously can't blame the Supreme Lord. But even though Kali was actually the direct perpetrator, Dharma knew that, of course, there were other reasons, and also it's mentioned that, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned himself, that we shouldn't actually don't hate the instrument of your sin as well. So, we shouldn't just blame someone else who may have done something wrong to us, because it's not going to get anywhere or produce any positive circumstance. So this, after asking Dharma, after thinking and turning this subject, he said to Maharaj Parikshit, he can't really answer that question. So he said that I'm going to have to leave it to you, Maharaj Parikshit, and you can decide for yourself. So after this, naturally, Maharaj Parikshit, he concluded that, ultimately, Kali was the wrongdoer, but he appreciated Dharma's very, very deep contemplation. And then he said to Kali that he's going to give him different places where he can reside. And so these places were basically where sinful activities take place. So these places, first of all, it was where gambling takes place, where prostitution takes place, where meat eating takes place, and these were the places, and where intoxication takes place. So then Kali said, your kingdom is so perfect. I still have nowhere to go. So after this, Maharaj Parikshit said, okay, so you can reside in places where gold is stored as well. So these are the examples then where actually Kali's influence reigns or resides. So this is why on the process of devotional service we have what we call the 4 regulative principles. So these principles, they are no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So this is how we actually refrain from Kali's influence. So this is very important, because Kali's influence is very, very strong, and with the influence of Kali comes we have Maya as well, and the different modes of material nature. So this is how we can keep clear from the negative influence of Kali. And also in places where people herd gold, naturally, too much money and wealth, it can cause people to become more sinful as well. So that's one thing as well about the process of devotional service. But naturally, devotees of the Lord, they always actually engage in speaking about the Lord, and it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 10. Madgata Madchita, Madchita Madgata Prana Bodhayantayas Parasparam Nityantas Shamam Divya Nityam Tasyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. That Krishna says that my devotees, they're always engaged in conversing about me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss and from always enlightening one another about me as well. So this is the process as well, and this is actually the culture, is that people, if they naturally engage in Krishna Katha and speaking about Krishna, and then naturally they will keep strong in devotional service. So one thing I'd like to ask a question, if we can see in Western culture, if you ever see like EastEnders or Coronation Street, Emmerdale Farm, all these different soaps and things. So where can you say is where is the center of community in these places? Yes, that's the central place. Yeah. So this is definitely true in Western society. I myself, I come from Ireland as well, and growing up, everything revolves around, all social conventions are around the pub, unfortunately. So um, this is actually the conflict we have in Western society, is that naturally it's a different outlook, and they don't see things as sinful, but actually, this is where Kali resides as well, and this is something which can have a big impact on our consciousness. So that's why it's very important to have, devotee association, to engage in devotional service, and there's a lot of opportunity, to engage in devotional service as well. So by Krishna's mercy, we have the temple and the devotees, the congregation. So naturally, there's always ways. And this month we have the winter book marathon. As you can see, the sign there is all you need is revolution, with love highlighted as well. So this is what we need, is actually to have a social revolution, where people can actually have that facility where they can see the need to actually protect their consciousness, and to raise their consciousness ultimately to Krishna consciousness. And this is something which Srila Prabhupada stated. He stated in the 70s that even 50 years ago, at that time in India, that culture was very much prevalent, and even in schools, I believe they used to speak about, to the scriptures, and they would always recite, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and so on. So this is something which is very important to keep society in a good condition, because without these measures, society becomes more and more lower in consciousness, and unfortunately that's the situation now. Because naturally, when people are focused on themselves, and they don't have any concept of the supreme, it becomes every person for themselves, a very selfish society, and they naturally become attached to, first of all, to their own needs, what they perceive they need, their own family and friends, and naturally they don't see the bigger picture, and this is something which is very much a cause for division. So I'd like to ask at this point if there's any questions. Yeah. Yes, Arumpu.
So when we say my devotional service, like what are the process? Anything you can share?
Yeah.
Because the verse says, through devotional service only one can know and truth.
Yeah.
So what are those devotional process? Like what are the
Oh yeah.
steps involved?
Yeah. So yes, there's different steps. So most important is that we actually, the process for this age is the chanting. So that's something which is very important. Lord Chaitanya, he has advented 500 years ago, who is Krishna himself, and so naturally the chanting of the Lord's holy names in the Maha Mantra, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's the process. That this is naturally, how we can always be conscious of Krishna, and then when we chant the mantra, that we're basically, the translation of that is, my dear Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. So that's what we're actually praying for. So naturally, the process then would be that we need some guidance, and this can only be through the shelter of a spiritual master. So it said in the Bhagavad Gita, Tadvini pradipratena pariprasnena sevaya upateksyanti te gyanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshana. So it says, if one wants to know the truth, they should inquire submissively and render service unto the spiritual master, so the self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So this is the spiritual master. And when we speak about the modes of material nature, we're all bound by these ropes of material nature. So they're described as ropes. And the spiritual master is one who is actually free. He's transcendently situated, and when someone is unbound, naturally they can unbind others as well. So the spiritual master can give us guidance, and also other spiritual masters we can take shelter of senior devotees and so on. We have many mentors as well that we can take association of. So that's all part of the process, and naturally then that we actually engage in devotional service, that we actually, we aim to chant 16 rounds a day, which is very, very easily, very easy to do if you have, your priorities right. And then naturally as well we have the four regulative principles, and as I mentioned earlier, the measures of devotee association and good company and service. So these are all very important. Yeah. Thank you, Pooh. Yeah. Okay. So something else I'd like to mention, as I mentioned about Lord Chaitanya, I'm not sure if people are so familiar with Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya was Krishna himself, who actually advented 500 years ago. And Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, but he has the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he's in the form of a devotee actually. So Lord Chaitanya, by his supreme example actually, he demonstrated how we should be as a devotee, and he simply, he was, even by a young age, he became known as a unparalleled, pandit and scholar. But very, very soon on, he just became very simple, and he was 7 foot tall. He was golden. He was very effulgent. His arms would reach down to his knees, and he would go everywhere and chant the names of Krishna. And he was very much intoxicated and very much absorbed in that mood of Krishna, and also in this mood of what we call separation, a separation from Krishna. So he wanted to be with Krishna, and when he would travel around, tears would completely stream down his face, and people. He was like a touchstone, that a touchstone can turn other stones into gold. So he would naturally empower people, and he would convert so many people to chant the names as well by his own example. So Lord Chaitanya, he was the supreme example, and he is what we call the Yuga avatar as well. So this is the process for this age, is that everyone, it's the easiest process is to chant the Lord's names. So in different yugas, in different times, we have different processes which are more easy, and through these processes as well is where the mercy flows. So Lord Chaitanya was very merciful, because in this age of Kali, we're the fallen conditioned souls, and we find it more harder to actually engage in devotional service because of the influence of Kali. So Maya is very strong as well, and we're less capable. So for this reason, the process is actually very simple, but yet very much profound. So as Sri Prabhupada mentioned, it's very simple, the process. It's three steps is chanting, feasting, and dancing. So that's the process for this age, is that we chant the Lord's name, we dance in kirtan and harinam, and we honor the Lord's prasadam. That's something I forgot to mention also, is about prasadam. We offer our food to the Lord, and this helps to negate all sinful reactions from killing other entities and so on. And Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita and those things that we can actually offer to him, and these things are basically a vegetarian diet and milk products as well. So it's not to have any meat, fish, or eggs. Okay. So if there's any other, I wonder if there's any more questions. Yes. Okay. So thank you very much. We're going to finish today's class here. So thanks for being such an attentive group as well, and yeah, hopefully that we've all learned something here today, and we all benefited, because that's how we benefit when we turn subjects. Naturally, we all learn something, and we can put it into practice. And naturally, by hearing, even just by hearing Bhagavad Gita, that's the first step in this age, is that when we hear devotional service, devotional topics, that's how we actually gain knowledge, and that's how we can actually go further into our devotional life as well. So thank you very much. Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, all glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.